Learning outcomes. After studying this module, you shall be able to understand various models of workplace counseling, learn about the potential strengths and weaknesses of the various models of counseling at workplace, know how counseling models are equipped for the welfare of employees, understand the use of counseling services for bringing organizational change and development, learn about the criticisms associated with the field of workplace counseling. Introduction. Counseling in the workplace has expanded over the last few years. It has its focus on employees at one hand and on the organization on the other. Aiming to bring change in the behavior of the employees and improving their lifestyle, it ultimately ascertains the efficiency and effectiveness of the organization. Randall in 1984 emphasized about the role of counseling in performance management and concluded that counseling enhances strengths and minimizes the impact of weaknesses on productivity. Board convincingly says that counseling always results in human growth and development. Literature suggests a number of counseling models applicable to different clients and different situations. This module discusses 8 models of workplace counseling. A counselor, depending upon the issues and needs of the client and the organization, can use one model or a combination of these models to address the issues at workplace. The following points give a brief introduction about the various models. The counseling-oriented model is the traditional model of workplace counseling characterized by using a particular therapeutic counseling approach to deal with the difficulties at work. Counseling based on brief therapy models is characterized by a limited number of focused sessions. The problem-focused model of workplace counseling is an effective model in dealing with the immediate problems of employees. The work-oriented model deals with issues and problems specifically related to workplace only. Non-work related issues of clients are considered irrelevant and are completely ignored. Manager-based models of counseling rest on the assumption that managers are quasi-counselors for the staff. In externally based models of counseling, counseling provision for the clients or employees are brought from the same external source. In contrast, in-house provision on a regular basis for employees is a norm for internally based models of workplace counseling. Welfare-based models of counseling focus on the overall well-being and welfare of employees by offering a variety of services, one of which is counseling. Organizational change models believe in bringing the desired change in the organization through counseling interventions.
Various models are proposed in literature for effectively placing the counseling practices in organizations. These models formulate different tasks and roles of a counselor in the workplace. It is to be noted that these models do not exclude each other. Depending upon the client and context, a counselor can adopt mixed practices to bring about the desired change. The 8 models of workplace counseling discussed in this section are counseling orientation models, brief therapy models, problem-focused models, work-oriented models, manager-based models, externally and internally based models, welfare-based models, organizational change models. Counseling orientation models. The counseling orientation model is the traditional model of workplace counseling characterized by using a particular therapeutic counseling approach to support the employees as they try to cope with issues. Within this approach, a counselor is hired by an employer who subscribes to a particular counseling orientation like Gestalt developmental, psychodynamic, humanistic, constructivist, etc. Depending upon the issue brought and the time frame allotted to work upon the issue, the counselor can adopt an eclectic approach and applies the same in the workplace. Literature reports several evidences in which a particular counseling and behavioral therapy like cognitive behavioral therapy, neurolinguistic programming, psychodynamic rational emotive, transactional analysis, etc., was supplied in the workplace without considering the organizational context. Summerfield and Van Outshone in 1995 reviewed the usefulness of Rogerian counseling at workplace and found it to be effective in building and maintaining interpersonal relationships. However, the researchers have also considered this eclectic approach of workplace counseling as unfair practice and highlighted the need of critical evaluation of adopting the counseling models in organizations. Similarly, Gestalt perspective was used by Critchley and Casey in 1989 to understand the issues of clients and dealing with them, though still used by many practicing counselors in organizational settings in the same way as they do when practicing independently. The counseling orientation model approach to workplace counseling needs customization and sincere consideration before its adoption in the business settings. Brief therapy models. Brief therapy models or focused counseling may not suit every client, every problem. The choice of brief therapy model is guided by economics of the situation rather than the needs of the client. In this, a limited number of sessions are provided for a shorter duration of time to assess and work with the issues of client. The focus is on only early intervention and quick response without going into deeper analysis to understand the real root of the problem. Problem-focused models. The problem-focused model of workplace counseling is an effective model in dealing with the immediate problems of employees. Counseling practices within this approach are directed to deal with both work-related and non-work-related issues of employees hampering their level of performance. Based on the problem-solving approach of cognitive psychology, the counselor formulates the problem, generates the solution, and takes necessary action plan to help employees deal with their immediate issues. Being quick, practical, effective, time-saving, and applicable in a variety of situations, the problem-focused approach of counseling is a well-established practice of workplace counseling. Many researchers have devised their problem-focused models of counseling based on this perspective. DAISE, that is DAISE, is a 5-stage model developed by Nelson and Jones in 1995, which he labeled as life skills counseling. This model is a helpful problem-solving methodology where D represents developing relationship with clients, identifying and clarifying problems of client. A represents assessing client's problems and redefining it in terms of skills. S represents stating work goals and planning interventions. I represents intervening to develop self-helping skills in clients. E represents ending the counseling session by consolidating self-helping skills in the client. Work-oriented models. As the name suggests, the work-oriented models of workplace counseling deal with issues and problems specifically related to workplace only. The main aim of a counselor is to facilitate the client to overcome the problems related to workplace and bring him back to work as quickly as possible. Deeper issues existing beneath the problem are not considered, as counselor is just focused on performance of the client and issues that hurdle the performance. Non-work related issues of client are considered irrelevant and are completely ignored. The proponents of work-oriented models of workplace counseling by Eager in 1983 believe that counseling in organizational settings is entirely different from counseling in other contexts, and adopting the general methods of counseling at workplace is inappropriate. According to Eager, in 1983, workplace counseling has no role to deal with the personal problems of the clients. Rather, it should exclusively focus on performance and productivity. Anything that interferes with the performance of an employee and productivity and effectiveness of organization should be fixed within the business context. Work-oriented models of counseling are especially adopted by task-oriented leaders and managers who want value for money and think that workplace counseling is a practice meant for improving organizational effectiveness by solving work-related issues of employees. However, the model is also being criticized by many leaders and researchers who consider it impractical and believe that it is not always possible to delineate the work-related problems with personal problems. Manager-based models. Manager-based models of workplace counseling rest on the assumption that managers are quasi-counselors for their staff. Redman, in 1995, referred managers as ongoing counselors, as most of their tasks involve working with and managing people. Within the frame of this perspective, counseling is considered as a part of everyday life which everyone does at some time, but it probably is being seen as conversation between two people. This approach of counseling is critiqued by many professionals belonging to the field of counseling. Nixon and Carroll in 1994 argued strongly against managers taking the role of counselors. According to them, managers taking the roles and responsibilities of a counselor generate a difficult situation for the employees. On one hand, employees are discussing their personal issues with the manager, and on the other hand, the same manager is rating their appraisal. The scenario creates role conflict for managers and confuses them towards their responsibilities for the staff. Further, research literature clearly delineates differences between counseling skills and generic relationship skills, considering the former to be the domain of professionals and the latter as a part and parcel of all interactive situations in a variety of relationships. Externally versus internally based models. In externally based models of workplace counseling, counseling provisions for the clients or employees are bought and brought from some external source. Usually, the organizations contact established EAP providers who further employ counselors depending upon the requirement of the employer. In some situations, internal EAP is set up within the organization and a pool of counselors with different skills and background work on companies' issues. In contrast, in-house counseling provision on a regular basis for employees is the norm for internally based models of workplace counseling. A part-time or a full-time counselor is employed by the organization who works with employees. Many organizations have a setup in which a team of counselors work in collaboration with various departments and units of an organization to effectively discover and root out the issues of employees. Tata Consultancy Services (TCS) has set up a network, Maitri, in 2005 to counsel its 30,000 employees. Similarly, at Wipro, to reduce employee stress after working for long hours, HR initiated Mitra, an in-house counseling service, in 2003. The setup is established to help employees in distress and to train them to better handle pressures of workplace. In-house counseling has been considered beneficial by many organizations as the counselor is well aware of the culture of the company and can make assessments in the light of organizational systems. Welfare-based models. Employee welfare in contemporary language of industrial relations is a term including various services, benefits, and facilities offered to employees by the employers. The welfare measures need not be monetary but in any kind or forms. This includes items such as allowances, housing, transportation, medical insurance, and food. Employee welfare also includes monitoring of working conditions, creation of industrial harmony through infrastructure for health, industrial relations, and insurance against disease, accident, unemployment for the workers, and their families. Welfare plans for employees make their life worth living and endow them with the required facilities and benefits to live life comfortably. Welfare based models of counseling focus on the overall well being and welfare of employees by offering a variety of services, one of which is counseling. These models are considered predecessor of counseling in the workplace. Traditionally, the term welfare officers is used instead of counselors for such people. A welfare officer works across multitude of roles depending on the employee needs. Various types of interventions provided by welfare officers for clients. Benefits include befriending, information giving, giving legal opinions, financial consultations, counseling, etc. Counseling services offered on the basis of welfare models help employees increase their self-awareness regarding their thinking and behavior so as to make them more effective as an individual and in turn effective in their job also. Organizational change models. In its most general sense, workplace counseling is seen as a practice directly valuable for the employee and indirectly of benefit to the organization. It is broadly viewed as an intervention to deal with personal or work-related problems of clients. However, this problem-centered approach of counseling has been considered a narrow viewpoint by many researchers. As Critchley and Casey in 1989 suggest that one discipline may offer another a fresh way of seeing old problems, just as chemistry is helping physics and mathematics is helping family therapy. So we find psychotherapy helping organizational change. Organizational change models believe in bringing the desired change in the organization through counseling interventions. Instead of seeing counseling as a way to deal with the issues of employees, they view it as a tool to bring about the transformation in the organization. Counseling theories and methods are used to assess and understand individual, group, and organization dynamics to facilitate change. As counseling services based on these models are directed exclusively in the area of change, growth, and development of organization, they are mainly focused on how change takes place, how it can be expedited, and how the obstacles are to be dealt within individuals, teams, and groups that make change difficult. Special attention is given to corporate culture that descends on the organization and infiltrates every aspect of relationships. Several organizational change models are proposed in which the counselors and counseling services in the workplace are used to dynamically transform the organization. Cole in 1988 has suggested a 5-stage model that links counseling with organizational change. Stage 1. In the first stage, employees are interviewed with the expressed purpose of seeing how their usefulness to the organization can be enhanced. Stage 2. In stage 2, managers are counseled on individual basis. Stage 3. In stage 3, small group meetings are held to influence the psychological tone of the organization. Stage 4. Next, team building interventions are carried out with groups of employees. Stage 5. Finally, cultural change programs are held by counselors for managers to help them build an environment of change where employees could be strengthened. Though increasing number of organizations are sensing the need and benefits of counseling for their employees, the field of workplace counseling is not without criticisms. Many issues have been raised in literature related to workplace counseling. It has been seen as a part of organizational politics which is used by management for its own benefits and to gain control on their employees. Some sociological writers portray counseling services as part of management surveillance, restricting the autonomy of employees. With workplace counseling in place, many employees feel that management tries to unburden its problems by putting the responsibilities on employees' shoulders. They see workplace employee counseling as a method to divert from real management and organizational issues. Carroll in 1996 documented Labor Research Department report of 1994 that pointed 19 international case studies in which person-based methods of handling stress such as counseling and relaxation techniques were found least useful since they ignore the environment and do not deal with the causes of stress. From this perspective, Newton in 1995 criticized workplace counseling by saying that it individualizes problems, decontextualizes them, and makes them apolitical. Newton in 1995 also viewed counseling at workplace as a way of managing employees' emotions. According to him, it is a method of organizational social control dictating to individual clients which emotions are permissible and which are not within the organization. A final criticism is that counseling is never made central activity of the organization and is not integrated into its processes and structure. Companies generally relegate counseling provisions to the periphery of organization, thus rendering them dysfunctional. The critics of workplace counseling should be seriously considered to professionalize counseling services in organizations. A lot of work needs to be done to match the standards of delivery of counseling services to the organizational demands. Only then counseling models and methods can be used in a right direction to assess and understand individual, group, and organizational dynamics.
Summary. Many models of workplace counseling are proposed in scientific writings. 8 different models are elaborated in this module. In counseling orientation model, counseling approach is the key factor Counselors adopt an eclectic approach by subscribing to their training and using the same in organization settings. Brief therapy counseling models are meant for short-term counseling of the individual clients in a limited number of sessions. The problem-focused model of counseling sees the counselor's role as helping individuals to work with the immediate problems they bring. DAISE model is a problem-focused model developed by Nelson Jones. In manager-based models, managers perform the role of counselor and deal with the issues and problems of employees. External and internal based models differ with respect to whether the counseling provision for employees are hired from some external source or whether they are in-house, set up from being established to help and work with employees. Both models have their own potential strengths and weaknesses. Welfare-based models portray counseling as an intervention for overall welfare of the employee. In this, welfare officers perform several roles like advisor, befriending, information provider, counselor, social worker, etc. for the benefit of the employee. Organizations integrate counseling into their growth, change and development programs. In organizational change model, the transition is brought in the organizations through counseling provisions. The field of workplace counseling has been criticized by many who see it as a way by which the organization and management try to gain control over the workforce and limit their autonomy.